better way. I send my funds across the globe to anyone in need. It's fast, it's fair, it's always there, a tool for every creed. And I'm proud to use BCH today, where freedom lights the way. That's secure and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow. Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Whoa. No single force can hold it back. It's built to stand the test. For every trade and every hand, it proves it's still the best. For merchants and for dreamers too, it levels every field. A global tool, it's here to rule, a power that won't yield. And I'm proud to use BCH today, where freedom lights the way. Fast, secure, and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow. Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Whoa, future grow. It's not just for the wealthy, it's for the ones in need. It's power for the powerless, to help them to succeed. And I'm proud to use BCH today, where freedom lights the way. Fast, secure, and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow. Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Yes, Bitcoin Cash connects us all and helps our future grow. Whoa, future grow. Whoa, whoa.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart Bcashers.
We're live.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 140, Finding Inspiration and Solving Societal Problems, featuring Bernanacatl. Today is Saturday, the 18th of January, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. Quick check on the price. BCH is flat, but Litecoin has flappened us, so we've been wrecked by them. BCH $464.12 USD, down slightly. 1 BTC sat buys 224.1 BCH sat, so we're down slightly there. And 1 ETH buys only 705.1 megasats, so we are up slightly against Ethereum. Selene has 784 30-day users, and Tokenaut says the BCH TVL is at 20,592 BCH, so some nice growth. Correctly pronounce his name. Welcome to the show, Bernanacatl. Is that it? How do you get into Bitcoin?
Yeah, and how's it going, Jeremy? What's up, Jet? Happy to be in the podcast. And yeah, you pronounce it Bernanacatl, and it's a name that comes from a mix from my name, which is Bernardo or Bernard, and Nanacatl, which means flesh of mushroom or flesh of fungus in Nahuatl language, which is the most important indigenous language in Mexico. And since I grow mushrooms and I sell mushroom spores and cultures, that's how I created the nickname. But mostly my profile on X and with BCH is just promoting cryptocurrency and the use of digital cash. And yeah, that's, were you gonna ask me, did you ask me how did I get into Bitcoin?
Yeah. Tell us the story with the selling the mushrooms. This is hallucinogenic mushrooms, or it's like supermarket mushrooms, or both?
I sell mushroom spores for microscopy research purposes in general, and I also sell mushroom cultures. You know, they grow on petri dishes, and these are gourmet species, so people can grow them in their houses. And well, the thing started in about 2015. Before I had heard about Bitcoin, like in 2011, with the Silk Road, I was really into psychedelic substances and studying the expansion of consciousness, altered states of consciousness. So when I heard from a friend that there was a market where you could use this digital money to buy different kinds of psychedelic substances that were not available in the regular black market, and that they could arrive directly to your house, I got very interested. So I downloaded the Tor browser, which was necessary. So I got into the Silk Road, and I was very amazed at the variety of substances that were available there. But then it was not very easy to buy Bitcoin, and also the protocol for privacy, the PGP protocol, seemed kind of too technical for me at that time. So I didn't take the time to learn it, so I never bought anything in the Silk Road. But that sparked my interest in the beginning. And then, well, I decided to start this business, mushroom spore selling business. And I used to use PayPal to receive payments in my website, right? And it worked very well. And I didn't want anything about this domain or this website to be associated with my real identity, right? So what I did was take out many rechargeable debit cards from Banco Azteca, or there were some from Brinks Panamericano, that they had a limit on the deposits that you could receive monthly. It was like $250 per card, but you could buy like there was no limit to the amount of cards that you could buy. So from PayPal, I would send transfers to these cards and then go to the ATM and withdraw the money, right? So that worked for a while, but then in 2019, a customer was angry at me because the product didn't arrive or something. There was a problem, and this customer told PayPal, "Hey, I bought some mushroom spores and they didn't arrive." So PayPal knew what I was selling, and they blocked my account, or they canceled it. So I didn't have a method to receive payments anymore. That's when I got really frustrated and started looking into how I could receive payments. And this is when I got to first Bitcoin, and I started using CoPay wallet. Did you happen to use it? It was the one from BitPay, the open source one. And it started working. So by that time in Mexico, there started to be this new method of payment. It didn't start as a method of payment, but it was an anonymous method that you could use to send electronic cash payments, which is the cardless withdrawal. I don't know if in your countries you have that, but in Latin America, it's becoming more popular. In Mexico, almost all the big banks offer this service already, but in 2019, it was only starting. And the thing is, you go to your banking app to your banking app, and you generate a code, which is you can give it to anyone, and with that code, they can withdraw money from any ATM of that bank, right? So that helped me a lot, as well as Bitcoin payments, BTC at first. And then a customer told me about Bitcoin Cash, that it was faster, it was cheaper. So I started researching it a bit, and I started accepting both BCH and BTC. And then when I tried, for example, I didn't know about privacy at that time, about how the different UTXOs could be associated with each other when you consolidated all of the payments you had received in a single transaction. So I used to do that and send them to an exchange. So I was really, really doing a very dumb thing at the moment. Still, I think Chainalysis and all of those companies were not that big at that time. But that's how I learned about BTC fees, because I consolidated like 30 inputs. So that's when I got to pay like $200 in one transaction. And that's how I discovered BCH and started investigating more. I got into Reddit, and a lot of people on the RBTC forum started to explain me what was the difference, and that it was like BTC had been hijacked, that it was not a scam, but it was more of a Ponzi speculative asset more than peer-to-peer cash, and that the real authentic Bitcoin was BCH. And at first I was very skeptical, but I'm very grateful for people like Shadow of Harbinger, who took the time to explain me in large paragraphs, like what was the history, what events had happened that gave the real Bitcoin a green logo, which that is like doesn't make sense to a person that doesn't get a deep dive into it, right? So that's what we're fighting against. That like the brand recognition is really hard to explain to people what happened. And yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah, I mean, I always wonder about those long discussions on Reddit because nowadays I feel like there's still so much, or maybe there is more than there ever was, sort of like bot activity and all that. And it's very hard to determine when somebody puts up a post like, hey, I need help with X, Y, or Z. I sort of feel like it would be very easy, and undoubtedly somebody is probably running bots to just post up sort of semi-nonsense questions that then distract everybody, writing these big answers, trying to help somebody who is just fake, right? It's all just to basically troll us. But then when I hear a story like that, I'm also sure that, of course, some of the posts are real. Some of the posts are from people who are just genuinely confused and trying to figure out what's going on, and they just make a thread and then somebody answers them, and then it can lead on to so much adoption, to them getting down the rabbit hole and understanding all this sort of information. So it's good to hear that that has been effective, at least, you know, in your case, right? I don't know if you have any thought, like, do you think now that we should still be sort of trying to focus and try and onboard people through Reddit, or is there better ways to get the information out there?
I think it's an effective way, and it was all like 10 times better when the subreddit was run by like Shadow and the other people that are not controlled by, well, right now the owners of the subreddit are like not so BCH friendly, right? They're not cleaning up the subreddit, and there's a lot of conversation of price of BTC. Now maybe it's harder to like separate the wheat from the chaff, like you say. But I think it's worth it. Not very often, but I see some people trying to understand what's the difference between BCH and BTC. And I think that it does make a difference when people take the time to explain and give long answers to the real people that are trying to get it, right? And it would be amazing if we could get back control over the subreddit. But I would guess that we would need Roger to be free, right, with free time and free of his mind from the situation that he's in at the moment.
Yes, it is a very historically contentious thing, and there's been several different eras of, you know, people being the moderators or people being responsible for that, and the amount of work that goes into it to keep it really nice is really not trivial. It takes a lot of effort. So, and it's not necessarily going to be a paid position either. So then people who are most likely to want to gravitate to it, unless they have their own specific passionate reasons like Shadow and like others, then if you just kind of leave it open to anybody or to the person who most wants to volunteer for it, well, then maybe it becomes an avenue for more disruption rather than more actual progress, which obviously famously happened with our Bitcoin and Thamos and all of that, right? And so that's why it's so hard to just tell people the true story, because they're getting this conflicting mix of messages on top of what is already a very confusing topic, you know? So, I mean, nowadays we have hijacking Bitcoin, so that really, I think, has made a huge difference, because you can just recommend that to somebody who really wants to know. You don't have to retype it out into every single Reddit thread. But my approach is more just that the Reddit's just such an uphill battle between all of the scams and the history and the problems with the moderating system and stuff like that. I just feel like we get the truth out more via Twitter, via Telegram, and via things like this show, because if I put the links to the podcast on Reddit, then people who are confused can at least look at that, see, okay, this is real people having a real conversation, and then they can find the stuff that they need. Do you have a window open or something like that? I can just hear like cars going past or something. I don't know. Is it?
I don't have a window open, but my computer has a really loud fan, and sometimes it looks like it's going to take off. It sounds, and yeah, it just started. The fan started like some seconds ago, but right now it's quiet again.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully, if there's any way to minimize the amount of that, that would be really good. Because yeah, otherwise it cuts in while we're talking. All right. Anyway, so the first thing on the agenda for today is the Bliss 2025 ticket sale. You can go to tapswap.cash and get your Velma NFT for 0.45 BCH. That's an early bird special that we have for the next few days, and then it will be 0.5 BCH per Velma after that. Anybody who is interested in coming along, I'm really putting the word out that hopefully just jump on this and get a ticket sooner rather than later, because obviously we sell tickets right up until the event on May the 13th, but the more tickets we sell earlier, the more it helps us plan out the event in advance. If we feel like we're going to have a really strong showing, it does help us a lot. So please, if you're interested in coming, just jump on it as soon as possible. It's like we've talked about before on the show, it's being held in the same venue that it was last time, so May 13th to 15th in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and we've expanded to 3 days, so it's really going to be an action-packed thing. I was wiped out at the end of our 2 days last year, so I think with 3 days it's absolutely going to be wild. You were at Bliss. How'd you find it?
Yeah, we liked it a lot. I was with my wife, and you had already told. Well, I already knew that it was going to be quite technical. That there were going to be a lot of technical talks, and but I was really attracted that I could also go to travel around. So we went to Venice, and we traveled a bit around. So that was really cool. I got to pay in 2 places, in 2 cafes with Bitcoin Cash, and that was an amazing experience. I got to pay the hotel room with BCH, and that was great. I didn't pay my flight in Travala because I was looking for the cheapest price. But it was really cool. The venue was amazing, and the food was amazing, and yeah, getting to know you guys from like more close and see your faces, it was really nice. I loved it.
You coming again this year?
No, I'm not going to be able to go this year.
Damn. Yeah. Well, that's a shame. I mean, I'm hoping that we have a really high returning rate, because then that shows that we're building strong loyalty in the community, and we're having a good event. The ultimate proof is if somebody comes back a second time. But I mean, it will just sort of remain to be seen as well. Obviously people are busy, and it is a big, especially for you, people that are coming from outside Europe, it's such a big commitment to make that it's going to be, especially now that we've made it 3 days to travel there and go back and everything. It's really a big commitment. So I understand that not everybody is going to be able to make it every year, but we have, so the tickets are available now on TapSwap. Just go to tapswap.cash. There is also a video available on the website bliss.cash, which shows how to do it if you haven't used Cash Connect before or different wallets. And Paul also made a extra video as well, so there's actually 2 different tutorials that you can watch to explain how all of that works. Now, Bliss is obviously to celebrate the upgrade this year, which is the Velma upgrade, and we've front run the opportunity this time instead of just putting out this video at the event like we did last year for Abla. We've created the video explaining the upgrade and put it out now to help people get excited for the upgrade and to understand it. So in just 4 minutes, it explains all of what's happening with the Velma upgrade, and I think if we just play that now, it should help everyone get on the same page about it. What is the BCH Velma upgrade? The Bitcoin Cash protocol upgrades each year with new and powerful technology. In 2024, the Jessica upgrade activated the Abla algorithm to automatically adjust BCH block sizes in response to network demand. This year, in 2025, the upgrade is called Velma, from the starting letters of Virtual Machine Limits. Velma goes live on mainnet on the 15th of May 2025, celebrated with the second annual Bliss conference in Ljubljana, Slovenia. However, eager developers can begin experimenting with its potential on the development chipnet today. The Velma upgrade combines two community-agreed cache improvement proposals, or CHIPs. Chip 2021-05, VM limits targeted virtual machine limits, and Chip 2024-07, Big Int high precision arithmetic. Both chips were proposed and championed by Jason Dreisner, the same developer behind the 2023 Cash Tokens upgrade. The first chip retargets the virtual machine limits in Bitcoin Cash full nodes. VM limits control how large and complicated a Bitcoin Cash transaction can be before it is rejected as invalid by the network. If the limits are too strict, smart contract developers are limited in the ease and power of applications they can build. If the limits are too loose, the chain becomes vulnerable to attacks by malicious actors submitting unnecessarily complicated transactions designed to crash nodes and disrupt the network. The existing BCH VM limits were set in 2010 by Satoshi Nakamoto himself, who hurriedly rushed them in once he realized unlimited scripts were an attack vector before fading out of the Bitcoin community shortly after. Those limits have not been revised any time in the last 15 years, so there is significant room for improvement. The changes to the limits are designed to loosen the constraints on benevolent smart contract developers without creating any extra room for malicious actors. The specific changes are: the previous 201 opcode limit has been removed, the previous 520 byte stack element size has been raised to 10,000 bytes, 3 new limits for operation spending, hashing, and control stack usage have been added. A sophisticated test suite has been built to test multiple node implementations against these limits to ensure their safety. The second chip assists the first by removing one additional pre-existing limit on the size of numbers. Before Velma, numbers in BCH were capped at 64-bit integers, i.e. mathematical operations could only calculate up to 2 to the power of 64. After Velma, numbers and calculations can be any size, provided they fit within the other adjusted limits. This change to numbers is a surprisingly big deal. It improves the ability for developers to build DeFi protocols, greatly increases access to privacy and zero-knowledge related cryptography, and greatly increases access to quantum-resistant cryptography. Between these two chips, BCH is significantly upgrading the smart contract power available to Bitcoin builders. No issues are expected, but if any are discovered, they can of course be addressed with a follow-up chip. As with most BCH upgrades, end users and BCH holders do not need to take any action to benefit. Sit back and enjoy the more powerful apps that emerge from upgraded infrastructure and developer tools. And that's Velma. Build on the Bitcoin Cash virtual machine with plenty of freedom, or jump in and try out the thriving ecosystem of products and services it has facilitated. So there you have it. This is our, 4-minute explainer video that tries to condense some of the technical detail and all the context, just really bringing and refining that down, because obviously it's a good thing that we do upgrades and we improve the network every year, but it does present a bit of a challenge in that not everybody is either going to be a BCH expert or is going to be paying attention to it all the time. So it's really important that we, as best we can, get the information out to as many people as possible, including in cases where it might be difficult to understand what is the specific technical reasons or what is the point, especially something like the VM limits are being changed, which are maybe not as intuitive as people already kind of understand about the block size, what the problem with having a fixed block size, right? So I don't know if you have any thoughts about, do you think this our messaging last year was effective in helping people understand about ABLA, and then this year with the Velma as well?
Yeah, I think you did a great job with the creation of that video. Did you outsource any of the animations, or did you do everything by yourself?
Yeah, well, I got to give a shout out to CM Works, who helps out with a lot of the graphics stuff that we do for the podcast. So like for this, for instance, I wrote the script and I got feedback from a couple of people that have been heavily involved in it, make sure everything was right. And then I did the voiceover, and then CM Works helped me out with the some of the graphic stuff, and then obviously we iterated on that, and we had various versions until we got to a final product. So if anybody is looking to make similar videos to this, then CM Works might be a great person to hit up and negotiate something. Does a ton of great work for the podcast in terms of our visuals, and I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I remember you recommended CM Works to me, and I've hired him for 2 image editing works that I had to do, and I paid him in BCH, and yeah, he has great skills for graphic design and things like that. And yeah, I think you did a very great job with this video, because many people don't know that Bitcoin was originally designed with scripts and with smart contracts by Satoshi. So this kind of reminds people about that fact, because then people, when you talk about smart contracts in the Bitcoin context, they think about, well, in the BCH context, they think about smart BCH or EVMs and RSK in the case of BTC. But this is to make them aware that there's very efficient and parallelizable scripting system in BCH and in Bitcoin in general, and that it's being developed in Bitcoin Cash. I really liked the slide where you mentioned the possibility of adding quantum resistance, zero knowledge cryptography at the contract level, is that can attract many more developers to start working and developing dApps on BCH. So
yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts about when you said you were coming to Bliss and you thought, oh, okay, maybe it would be technical or hard to follow. Obviously, we are trying to facilitate an event that is for people who are, developers or who are technical. Is a really good opportunity for people to have sort of quite in detail discussion, especially obviously around the protocol upgrade and things like that. But at the same time, it's not just for those people, right? So we are trying to strike a balance in terms of hopefully making it accessible, and maybe if the technical information is there that can help people to level up and learn those things, but obviously everybody's not going to come preloaded with all the information about that. I don't know if you have any thoughts about how we did last year in terms of helping people follow all that, and maybe any suggestions or ideas of what we could do this year. Like, I think this video is a good start, right? But perhaps there's more that we can do to really help everyone understand at least what is the point of these things, even if not the specifics of, the implementation, basically.
Yeah, I think the general purpose of this type of conference was achieved. I liked that. Apart from the talks, of the technical talks, there was a place at the back where the developers could show their apps to people and have them try them out. Like, for example, Fifth of Gaming, he explained to me what his platform was about, and I participated in a small game, in a small tournament. And I got to speak with the developers, with Sayoshi Nakamario, with his apps too. I think that was very important to promote the convivencia, and for everyone to get to know each other and to become more compact and like a better community. Maybe something that could be better in the future could be to add some, maybe one or two merchants. I'm not sure if the Sheraton would allow that to happen, like someone selling stuff there, but maybe some merchants that could accept BCH directly and not have to use the Bitcoin.com wallet necessarily. That would be cool. I got to go to the Monerotopia event last year in Mexico City, and they selected a place where there are regularly, like every 2 months, these like tianguis, like organic markets where merchants sell things such as clothes, like eating products, like different types of products, like small merchants, and they onboarded everyone, but we had to help them use their wallets. They were not good users of them at the moment. But something like that may help, like to be able to experience paying in BCH directly, apart from the projects, apart from the developer projects that are showcased there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, we do have at the open house, people are selling merchandise and all that. So we did have a little bit of a flavor for that, but it's a very good point that perhaps if we could get some more like a greater diversity of merchants and so forth, then that might help people to have that hands-on experience. And it's, again, we're trying to hit sort of a range because people who are deep in the BCH community, I mean, it's always fun to buy things in BCH, but that's not necessarily like a life-changing experience if you're already a regular BCH user. But then on the other hand, for people who are coming along who a lot of the other stuff might be a bit more over their heads, then that is something really practical and tangential that they can tangible rather, that they can grab onto and feel involved in. And like you said, perhaps also meeting the people behind the technical projects and having that additional time helps get to the bottom of what's kind of going on, rather than on the talks where you just hear about it for 20 minutes. It has to be pretty quick and to the point. But then afterwards, if you have the time to talk to the developers directly, which we try and facilitate, that can also help. significantly, I think, in understanding, you know, how to use these products and what the point is actually. So that's some really interesting ideas. What about the upgrade itself? You know, one of the things I found really interesting was that last year when we did the Jessica upgrade, maybe because it was about block size, so many people were interested and kind of you know, open-minded to that because they knew, at least in some part, the history about BTC and BCH and everything. But the fact that we did the Jessicas and all that, it meant that so many people heard about it who previously nobody knew anything about any BCH up. You know, there was upgrades in 2020, 2021, 2022, even 2023 with cash tokens. Virtually nobody outside of the BCH hardcore knew about them. But the Jessicas, that was everywhere, and you saw in different forums and all these kind of people you wouldn't expect talking about it. With the Velma, I'm hoping we can get the same, you know, result, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on how we can most effectively manage that.
Yeah, I think it was a very good idea, that marketing. The visual aids are super important for people to grasp the concepts and become interested. And in general, in advertising, the feminine figure, I think it's great. To attract attention in general, especially
exactly.
especially in this space. There's a lot more men than women in crypto, and so that I think it works. So I think it's a good idea to continue with this train. In each upgrade, select a new girl. It's great idea.
It's very simple, but it works.
I might be like exposing my age a little bit here, but do you guys remember Neopets?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so
Very
they were
vaguely.
like, yeah, okay, so I guess also for the listeners, they were these little stuffed animals that you could get. I mean, I remember seeing them in like drugstores or like Walmart or something. And the small ones were probably like $15. But when you buy the stuffed animal, you'd get a little, I don't know, like a claiming code. And then they had a website where you put that code in and it'd give you the virtual stuffed animal in the game as well. And just thinking about like having these like, feminine visual aids in the NFT, like what if, and thinking back, that conversation that we had with Paul, I don't know how long ago, I feel like is always just kind of nestled in the back of my mind. Like there's something festering about making this cool for as many people as possible. And I wonder if this is like we could rebuild, or not rebuild, but build something like Neopets, like for kids that uses cash tokens. And if there's a way to integrate, like have like one cohesive thing with a fifth of gaming as well, where maybe there's some competitions for some of those in-game tokens. I don't know. I'm just like, this is something that just kind of hit me, and I was like, oh, this seems like it'd be useful to get another generation involved as well.
No, this is super cool because we do obviously already have the NFTs being issued and stuff. And initially, I just liked the idea that we would have a ticket entry to a crypto conference. Seems like it should be an NFT, right? So I think we've done well on that, and then the visual element makes it both, very visually appealing, and it's very distinctive, like you say, as it's just as simple as most of crypto is men, so having things with women on it attracts more attention. But even if you look outside of crypto, it's like if people are advertising festivals or whatever, they always put like mostly women on the posters. And that's just kind of the nature of humanity. It seems to be that's what gets the most attention. So I think the idea of actually having that, we already are doing the NFTs, but maybe if the NFTs had a website which unlocked some kind of game or some kind of other element there that could be super appealing and very like it would be another reason to get a ticket, and maybe also for people if you came one year but you didn't come the next year, you could still use your old ticket to log in, you know, and then maybe that also helps to create retention and interest over time. I don't know, Bernardo, any thoughts on this idea? I think it's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, it sounds great. Stuffed animals, maybe it would cost some money, but make something physical, like maybe stuffed girls or something. It could work too. Yeah, anything that's visual and graphical works great, I think. I haven't tried. I don't remember what was the game we played in the last Bliss of
Street Fighter
gaming.
Yeah, we played Street Fighter.
But wasn't there like a tic-tac-toe at the beginning or something?
Maybe there was. I think I missed that.
Because I supposedly participated and lost. I think it was something like a flip of a coin.
Oh, coin flipper, yes. So it's just like basically a lottery. Everybody just puts in their $5 and then whatever the block height, you know, the block hash comes out as it determines A or B wins, and then you have a bracket, and so it's basically just a lottery. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea to mix it with maybe a game. Did the purely peer gaming platform get funded in the last Flipstarter? I didn't get
they did.
Time. Oh wow.
Yeah, they did. They got a pretty decent amount of BCH, 180-ish BCH if I remember from the top of my head. So they'll also probably be rolling out, like, again, they're still doing stuff in beta and stuff. The last I checked, you know, they haven't got a version that they're like, okay, this is it, we're going out, you know, full public release just yet. But you're right, they could also be another great way to engage people, and maybe we can somehow include the Velmas in that. Like, I really like that on BCH Guru you can use your Jessicas, and now I assume your Velmas, I haven't actually checked, but I think your Velmas should also work on BCH Guru, and it would be pretty cool if we could continue integrating that into more game systems. That's a cool idea.
It would be great to be able to the guys from Purely Pure to put the how is it, not the Pokemons, but the BCH prizes in Ljubljana, hide them everywhere, and the assistants are going to be able to look for them, have some fun, and then spend it. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's it. We can, maybe that's another, like, we can do a little treasure hunt around Bliss or something like that. Might be another interactive kind of event, because that's the kind of thing as well that we can just run, you know, as long as we set it up beforehand, then it can just run all during the event. It's not like we need to be specifically creating time for it or anything, you know, in the schedule. So that could be really convenient in that way. Okay,
there's some cash stamps too.
Yes,
that's easier because there doesn't need to be a merchant accepting the cash drops in Ljubljana, but
I mean there is, but you're right. So that's also another thing. I'm just imagining, like, at the hotel, all people like looking under, you know, the stuff that's on the reception desk, and like looking behind some like curtains or things that they shouldn't probably be messing around with, and people be like, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, we hit a bunch of BCH in your hotel, and now everybody's obsessed with looking at every little corner. I think we'd have to be careful how we did that, because otherwise we might annoy the hotel staff who are like, what is this? This is not, Easter egg hunt happening in our venue. But it's a cool idea, and there's probably some variation of a physically themed game, you know, that we can run, especially since the cash stamps and the tech is already developed. So it should be fairly easy. Yeah, another way to make the event more unique, I guess.
Yeah, like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the actual VM limits upgrade? Again, I know you maybe not, you know, a developer or anything necessarily, but what you can certainly comment on the way that the community, you know, came to consensus again this year. We had a little bit of, you know, back and forth about the big ints, but it all got decided in the end, and it's all going ahead kind of as planned there. What do you make of that? The chip process kind of working out nicely, right?
Yeah, I was aware of the VM limits upgrade since I listened to General Protocols, I think, Twitter space, it was Jonathan Silverblood and Emergent Reasons talking about the limits and how it could benefit the BCH ecosystem. And at first I didn't understand anything, but I continued listening to them. I remember Imaginary username was not very okay with the fact that it was arriving a bit late in the schedule. But then I heard your interviews with Jason Dreisner, and he seemed very, very confident that it was the time to lock it in, and that he was going to be putting all of his effort to convince all the stakeholders, which he did. And but I also thought it was very important that other developers made it clear that it was just like a one-time thing, and that it shouldn't become like every year that it comes up late, that it should that we should be early into proposing and then convincing everyone. So when the lockup date comes, everyone is already in consensus. But I'm very happy that it was finally locked in, and because right now it's the bull run is just starting, in my opinion, because the interest rates have not really accomplished bringing down inflation as the Fed and the banksters were expecting. So I think this bull run is going to take some years to develop, and I think it was a great time to activate this upgrade.
Yeah, amazing. Speaking of Jason Dreisner, you're right. He's already cracking on with the next thing. I don't have a slide about it, but he has been already making a ton of noise on Twitter. He clearly wants to get this out into the community about his ideas for 2026. We've mentioned before on the show op eval, pay to script, and the idea of loops. He has here some information basically saying that if those things get activated, then BCH will be in somewhat of a unique position, because a lot of other networks either can't do the zero knowledge type of cryptography at all, because they're not powerful enough, or if they can, they have to kind of bet on one way of doing it, whereas with BCH we can offer something that's both powerful and flexible enough that people will be able to experiment with all the different contracts without risking obviously the entire network. It's not like we need to do a zero knowledge upgrade into the base layer. We can just let individual people test it out with their own contracts, and then over time discover kind of what is the best solution. So I guess maybe also as a result of that big int stuff kind of coming a little bit late in the process, I think this time around he's already really going to be pushing hard to make sure the information is getting out early and people are having plenty of time to assess these different upgrades. So I mean, it is only January of 2025, and we're already basically talking about these upgrades for 2026. I don't know if you had any thoughts about any of that either, in terms of the pay to script or upgrading stuff for zero knowledge with op eval, if you have any take on that.
Until today, I saw Jason's post on X, and I didn't know there was like a difference. Well, I don't know what's the difference between pay to script hash versus pay to script, but I think I did hear him say before that he would like to add loops, and that upgrade would make BCH basically Turing complete, and that meaning that it will be capable of like any type of computation. So it sounds amazing that this is going to be in BCH available. And like you say, that's really good that, for example, in other blockchains like Monero, the privacy has to be in the base layer, because that's their main selling point, that you don't have to you don't have to do anything. You just have to use it, and you're already protected, right? But that means you have to take risks that if the protocol doesn't work, if the auditors made a mistake and there's a bug that could be exploited, then all the chain could just go to zero or something like that. And in BCH, what I understand from what you say is that if this type of cryptography doesn't work, since it is living inside a contract, you just stop using that contract, and it is stored in the blockchain, but nobody uses it, so it doesn't affect the blockchain, right?
Yeah, that's generally the idea, as far as I understand it, is so if you make a contract, firstly, you can just make several different ones, so you can try out, different versions. But also, like you say, if people are putting their money into that because they want to use those features, if there was, I don't know if there was some kind of like cash token that operated within or related to withdrawing or depositing from a contract, or somehow you could transfer within the contract, right? Either way, the point is, if you're not interested in those features and you don't put your money in, you can never end up having a problem related to it, so that if there is anybody who wants to experiment with that, well, they can put in a small amount of money and experiment with it, and then maybe build up confidence over time as it's shown to be working. Then maybe more money can go into it, but it's never affecting everyone, right? It's only just the people who are who are choosing to have exposure to any given privacy or zero knowledge type of tech or anything experimental. And so I think Jason's strategy is basically to get BCH to a place where the protocol level doesn't need to be changed, but a lot of people can do tons of experimentation with the contracts. And he even says in some of his posts that he's hoping that we can attract, university teams and researchers and stuff like that, which we would definitely need to be on the absolute cutting edge in order to get that kind of interest. But if we have something sufficiently flexible and powerful enough, which it seems like he's gunning for, 2026 or maybe 2027, then to me that sounds amazing, right? Why wouldn't we want that?
Yeah, that setup sounds amazing, because we could have something like the Tornado Cash protocol, which, if I'm not mistaken, uses zero knowledge cryptography. And there's a contract where you deposit your tokens and you can take them out in a completely different, newly created address or account. And there's no way to actually know where it came from. So we would have the best of all the worlds. Like we would have like a super private protocol, which would be a contract, like a zero knowledge contract. But we also have the UTXO model, which, if used correctly, it has a lot better privacy than EVMs. So that's amazing. The future is really bright in that sense.
Yes, and with the other upgrades that Jason was talking about between these ones, partly it's about that tech, but like you said, I mean, BCH is already sort of Turing complete as far as I understand it. There's a lot of, I mean, Craig Wright has done a huge number on everyone spreading so much, FUD and misinformation about this topic, right? But basically, the idea is, as I understand it, that since we added cash tokens in 2023, then it is functionally equivalent to the EVM, but the difference is some things are more efficient to do in terms of the actual amount of code you need to run and the node software and so forth, and some things are less. So what Jason is targeting here is any areas where BCH is less efficient than EVMs. If we can sort of tighten those up and make it so that BCH is more efficient, absolutely, in terms of computation overall, then we would clearly be a superior option, right? Because if we can be more efficient based on the actual computing, and then we can also have lower fees between those two things, you can just offer a platform to developers that the Ethereum or potentially other EVM chains couldn't compete with. So that strategy actually makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that's what he's gunning for here so far.
Yeah, exactly. And I forgot to say, we also have cash fusion and some other privacy techniques like the RPA, reusable payment addresses. And besides, to our advantage compared to completely obfuscated chains, we have more support from exchanges and on and off ramps. So we have like a foot in each of the worlds, right? Like one in the regular financial system and one in the completely private crypto system. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool that we have these developers such as Jason that is just crazy.
Yes, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you say, I think BCH is very attractive to people like you or like me who have a strong appreciation for that hybrid approach. Like BCH is definitely not trying to market itself as we are the privacy coin or we are the DeFi coin, or with BTC, we are the store of value number go up coin, right? To kind of be enthusiastic about BCH, you kind of got to understand that it's combining a lot of different things, right? It's like a well-balanced coin where you can have privacy elements if you need that. You can have the DeFi if you need that. We have the scalability, right? We have the merchant adoption, the P2P cash elements, and each of those different things all layers in with each other. And I find it fascinating the type of person that attracts, because if you look around crypto discussion, you can see like some people then kind of never going to get it with BCH, right? Because they have their one thing that they think is the most important thing, like privacy, for instance. And unless BCH is the number one thing by far and away on that one metric, they will never ever be interested because they're just so myopically focused on it. But it's a certain kind of person that is like that, and then a certain kind of other person is able to see, okay, well, if you have a good balance of things, maybe that is a more robust and reliable strategy, in the long run. I think it's just an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's important to mention that, for example, the BSV guys, they got misled by this guy Fake Toshi, but they also got misled in the sense that they thought that if this currency is going to be used by everybody in the world, it would have to be used by governments too, which is the force that we are trying to fight, right? So they just programmed like confiscatable coins. So that's not the approach, definitely not the approach that crypto should go through. And I didn't understand before. The Monero guys always say that it has to be like baked into the protocol, and it has to be like completely obfuscated. The privacy has to be perfect. But that at the same time makes it harder to go to the regular financial system, right? And it gives it a cost, an additional cost, because you have to trade for another, let's say, transparent coin to be able to do that, and you lose a percentage of value there. And with BCH, you could do both things without having to trade for another coin. So that, I think that's at this moment, I understood that, and this is the best approach, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned before talking to David Shattuck, who has got our community comment of the week this week. He says, quote, "Fun surprise today. My boss told me he wanted to pass out some surprise year-end bonuses in Bitcoin Cash. He asked me to be ready during the company-wide update to explain how to get a wallet to anyone who didn't already have one. A lot of the team lives in South Africa or Europe, so BCH coming in clutch for easy cross-world payments," end quote. And I just really like this because it's just an example of how BCH and crypto wins, which is just everybody just day after day after day after day in these small little interactions, in their small little circle of influence, or wherever you are. You know, if someone like his boss got excited about this, and then he was able to pay everyone in the company, and I think he was using Selene Wallet as far as I know, so it's just the case that once we've created the tools, then it just creates the opportunity for people to get interested, and the aggregate effects, right, the exponential effect of everyone just onboarding a few people here, there, etc., then creates what the kind of global revolution that we're doing. But it is all happening just one person at a time like that. And yeah, shout out to him, because this sounds like a great little onboarding experience. All right, we got a couple other bits of news to just touch on briefly as well too. So firstly, Donald Trump has just preceded his inauguration by launching a Trump meme coin on Solana, which went over a 10 billion market cap. I think it's now come down, but he's essentially done a great job of pumping that up. All kinds of people FOMOing in who will then lose money. So this is really just like a little bit beyond the pale, really, that we have the president of the United States now running their meme coin scam pump and dumps. Like, what kind of world are we living in here? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, for me, all those are shitcoin scams, and it maybe could also be related to the main big scam, which is BTC, and pumping it with Tether, creating the Bitcoin reserve. I think, the fact that the U.S. government and the SEC is not going after Tether, and I recently heard that a high functionary of Tether is going to work in the Trump administration. Did you hear something about that?
Yeah, probably. I haven't followed it all that closely, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, someone, I'm not sure if in the SEC, but a very high position in the Trump government is going to be like overlooking Tether's operation, like to check if they have their reserves of U.S. equity, not U.S. equities, US T-bills in like correctly stored and everything. But it just seems like a giant Ponzi that they want BTC to collapse, like millions of people to lose a lot of money and then lose all confidence in crypto as a whole, so they can never adopt one as money for regular commerce. I think it's part of that.
I mean, we'll see what actually ends up happening, because these things have a bit of a double-edged sword, right? I'm partial to these ideas that, okay, the government has co-opted, or even if they didn't even just start Tether from the very beginning, but I'm partial to that theory. But I think also part of the problem is for the government, if they put that in and their plan is, okay, to either use that to monitor what's going on or to then blow it up at a certain, good moment to try and shake confidence in cryptocurrency, is that in the same way, the people in government who are involved, right? Those people who get involved, then they become kind of it's like sticky, then they're a part of it. So then they are going to be the ones who are getting reserves of Tether themselves, or it's going to be involved in some shady business deals that they're doing or whatever. And before you know it, the same people who are the ones who are like, we're going to blow this up, are the ones who are the most involved in it actually staying together, and they're really just going to shoot themselves in the foot, right? So I just, any kind of shady operations like that, just the way humans are, is maybe it starts out as this idea of, okay, we're going to create this Potemkin cryptocurrency that we can rug everyone later. But then what usually happens over time is the people who get involved are the ones who are then affected and trying to prop it up and make sure that it keeps going until it all ends in disaster accidentally, right? So I don't know, I'm not as worried that Tether's just going to be rugged to destroy all of crypto. It seems like it would be a hard thing to coordinate.
Yeah, definitely, especially because there's other options, and some people, like a very small percentage of people, are actually using it for commerce. But yeah, let's hope it's just a conspiracy.
Oh, well, I mean, either way, I think as long as listeners to this show are not, holding tons of Tether, and the better that BCH can do in terms of creating its own stablecoin solutions like Moria, like BCH Bull contracts, then that, in a way, it could actually end up being super beneficial for BCH if and when it blows up, right? Because then as long as our ecosystem is as much as possible insulated from that, then if there's that huge meltdown and it affects all these different other people, but BCH could just keep powering ahead unaffected, that would be the ideal situation, I think. So I think, we're just best served by protecting ourselves in advance by creating our own more trustworthy ecosystem and tools, basically. I think that's the key. Okay. Yeah, also we've had some more information coming out that the Justice Department prosecutors in the US have potentially lied about what Roger Vere's communications in order to try and get the judges on side to prosecute him, and to obviously get the assistance of Spain in keeping him under sort of restrictions at the moment while they go through this whole legal extradition process and so forth. So there's no certainty about any of that now. We'll see how it all kind of plays out, but I'm very unsurprised to hear that they were just being a bit dodgy and inventing stuff potentially in their fervor to prosecute Roger. If the administration changes in just a couple of days, we'll also see what impact that will make, but I take that as probably going to be a good sign for him, that they weren't able to just kind of finish things up and then get some kind of prosecution or something going before the administration change, because inevitably once things change, it'll be a whole fresh batch of people, and then maybe it'll be like, who even cares about this? Like, why? Especially if Trump is trying to look like a pro cryptocurrency kind of administration, it doesn't make sense that they're going to carry on with this kind of witch hunting after they change administration. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was very late for them to arrest him at this point when the Biden was about to end. So for the advantage of Roger, it was late. And if Trump really pardons Ross Ulbricht, then he should also, I think he should also look to pardon Roger. He would at least get the support of all the crypto industry, except
not all of them, but most of them.
The laser eyes.
Yes.
But yeah, I really don't like Trump in general. He's like a political bully. He doesn't seem to like the free market that much. For example, Milei says that he really is he likes Trump because Trump really is in favor of the free market, and that he only uses the tariffs discourse as a tool, as a political tool to get what he wants from other countries. But I'm not sure about that. It looks like he really believes in protectionist policies. But let's see what happens. If he pardons Ross and Ulbricht, then I'm going to not criticize him that much.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I guess it was, day one has been all the chance about that. So we're going to see in just a couple of days whether he comes through on that or not. And one other little bit of news from the crypto industry. Recently, Vitalik Buterin was posting up some thoughts on Twitter about the process of large changes to Ethereum Foundation leadership. Jet, I've got the full tweet there if you can put that up for anyone who wants to. I'm not going to read it all. I don't think that's really, and you can read it there if you want to read it, but the funniest bit and the thing I found most pertinent was he said explicit non-goals, by which he means things that they're aiming away from, is to, quote, execute some kind of ideological / vibes pivot from feminized World Economic Forum soy boy mentality to Bronze Age mindset, end quote. So he's kind of poking fun at the way that sort of the BTC community is sort of largely more kind of right wing and maybe masculine, and then the Ethereum community in contrast has always been a little more sort of left wing or feminine or whatever, and he's playing it up with his language. But to me this just sounds like more of the same from Ethereum. I'm actually kind of bearish on Ethereum because they've been sliding against BTC, against sort of maybe the rest of the market too, with Solana coming up on them. And if this is if Vitalik is still just kind of doubling down on the strategy they've got there, jokingly or not, that doesn't seem that bullish to me. I don't know if you have any thoughts about how things are going in Ethereum and what you expect from them in 2025.
Yeah, I didn't understand what is the main goal of changing the administration of the foundation, but it's also getting clear to the world that Ethereum cannot scale, and that layer 2s have a very high risk, which is the multi-signature access to the L2s is in the hands of just a handful of people. And I I read something in the morning about the blob space being close to its limit or something, that two of the L2s take like 50 something percent of that space. Not sure about what that means, but I think it means there can't be more L2s added, right? So it's also hitting a scaling limit in that sense. So yeah, definitely, like you say, not bullish at all on ETH. I've thought about using Polygon for transferring USDC, but yeah, I hate transacting in ETH. So in general, I'm really bearish.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Like this again. Maybe they can figure it all out with this blob space strategy and this kind of constellation of L2s and like it's to me it just reminds me it's like a soup that's getting more and more complicated, you know. Okay, we got to put in this, and then we got to put in some spices to balance that, but then we got to put in some herbs to balance that, and they're just constantly just adding more and more things into the pot as it gets more and more exponentially complicated, both socially, economically, technically, every aspect of it. And yeah, clearly Vitalik, you know, is still kind of largely calling the shots or very, very heavily influential there. So I just can't see them being a strong competitor to BTC or even like when did the flippening? They've stopped really talking about that, you know, that as they were rising against BTC, they started saying, oh, we're going to flip BTC, we're going to flip BTC. And that would have changed the whole crypto industry if that had happened. But it kind of hasn't. And it seems like to me that they're maybe further away than ever with these kind of changes, right?
Yeah, I think the last bull run, ETH had a lot of energy, and it really was pumping a lot, and the narrative was that it was going to eventually flip BTC. But then the bull run came to a halt due to the Luna crash. And I think that took all the momentum Ethereum had for that particular event to happen. And now it's just stalled, and everything is about L2s. Everything is about, many, for example, Arbitrum, they initially said they were not going to have their own token because like they didn't want to extract value from Ethereum. And it ended up being a lie, and they did their airdrop, and they printed their own tokens. So everyone is trying to suck the energy from ETH. Yeah, not looking cool at all.
Yes. So on this topic, this is what I've been reflecting on this week. Is you have someone like Vitalik who is up, you know, embattled with obviously a lot of different criticism, and people are. I mean, once you're at a certain sort of size of clout, you're never going to make everyone happy, right? So there's a certain element to that, but also Ethereum, clearly its own community has been quite turbulent and feeling like they're not getting solutions recently, as we've covered on the show before with Justin Drake's Beam chain, which wasn't that well received, and now Vitalik's obviously trying to shake things up at the Ethereum Foundation in the same vein, right? Is I've been reflecting on how much less chat there has been in BCH from other communities, right? And my contention is that, like, if you rewind a year, probably more like 2 years, 3 years, 1 to 3 years ago, we had so many people coming to talk to the BCH and say, okay, you guys suck, you're shitcoiners, and then they had all these reasons that they didn't like BCH, right? So I've created a list of them on the slide. This was just as I was thinking about it. So, for instance, these are all problems that I heard a lot about people criticize BCH for that have already been fixed at this point, basically. Okay, one thing was like splits. Oh, BCH is just splitting with BSV, it's splitting with XEC, it's going to just keep splitting and it's going to stay irrelevant because the community can't get on the same page. Now, I've said on this show since it started, nope, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be any more splits, and there hasn't been. And in fact, there's been a lot of really powerful upgrades with no splits, so that's all going great. And anybody who wanted to speculate or, FUD basically that there was going to be more splits, totally wrong, right? Then people said, oh, well, it's basically just the same as Litecoin, or it's basically just the same as BTC. It's really not that different. There's no reason to need BCH, right? Low fees. Okay, a lot of chains have low fees, but now we've got cash tokens, we've got the VM limits changes coming. BCH is building up its own unique UTXO DeFi environment, right? So that's basically all fixed. People said, oh, the brand is tarnished, right? Like, oh, people don't really trust BCH. It sounds like a scam, knockoff, etc., etc., etc. It's going to go away or whatever. But as time goes on, and now with hijacking Bitcoin and all that, slowly education is getting out there. Like, wait a second, these guys aren't scammers. In fact, they've persisted through a monumental amount of shit that they've been handed, but all they're doing is just trying to protect the original P2P Bitcoin white paper idea, which has become more and more obvious as BTC has become more and more captured and lost. People can see it's not an economy like it used to be, right? Then people said layer one scaling isn't going to work. They pointed to BSV and said that was ridiculous. Those guys just took all the limits off and everything broke, or there's going to be another issue about the block size, but now we have ABLA and that's fixed, right? There was doubts about the protocol dev, basically people saying, oh, these guys aren't competent, they're just shitcoiners or whatever. Bitcoin Core are, the best devs, and they don't have any of them, so they're not going to be able to run the network. There's going to be technical nothing like that has happened. There was loads of complaints about Bitcoin.com and the infrastructure, being kind of heavily related to that, or the branding related to that. Well, now they're a lot less involved, so that's fixed. And all kinds of criticism about Roger Ver, Jihan Wu, Craig Wright, Amori, or whoever else that was involved in BCH. There was loads of FUD all about them, for different reasons, deserved or not. And all that's done. It's done, right? All of those problems have basically been fixed. And not only that, there's a lot of other problems that haven't been fixed yet, but it's obvious that they are being fixed, right? So like people can still say, okay, the hash rate is low, or the price doesn't perform that well, or the privacy might be somewhat of a problem, or the on-chain volume is still low, or there's not enough visibility and promotion of it, right? There's all these other different things which 3 years ago people would bring up over and over and over again. But now the BCH community has credible solutions. It's obvious that we just acknowledge, yes, those are problems, and we're making changes to fix them. Like, for instance, the hash rate and the price comes about from being more effective as a community and therefore gaining adoption and educating people on how to use BCH on chain, plus having a DeFi ecosystem, which then boosts our price and our hash rate, right? And maybe in the past, people could bring up that criticism and the BCH community wouldn't have a good response. But now it's like, yeah, that's a problem, but we acknowledge it and we're credibly making progress to fix it. Look, here's the evidence, etc. So this was my list that I've come up with. But you tell me from your perspective, am I right that all these problems have either been fixed or are being fixed, and that it's just removed all the FUD and reasons that people gave to not like BCH? Or is it just me that's imagining this?
Yeah, I think most of the fixed ones, I think you probably listed every one of them. And I agree that they were fixed. And I want to comment on the governance criticism that BCH sometimes gets. And I don't remember the name of this investor. He's like the head of I think a hedge fund or a fund that invests in crypto, and he always he doesn't promote BCH.
Is it Justin Bonds?
Yeah, Justin Bonds.
It's not Justin Bonds. Okay.
Yeah, he insists that there's no governance in Bitcoin, and that's like an inherent flaw. But like the devs had made me understand, and like BCH Autist said, that the governance mechanism is forking. And yeah, these guys tend to not understand that even though some chains such as Dash has, for example, master nodes, and they can vote and make consensus, and other chains have on-chain governance where they can vote for changes in the protocol, the meat space can still be co-opted. The people are running the protocols, and people still can be co-opted and corrupted and convinced to be compliant in any way the state wants or whatever. Like, they can be co-opted to destroy the protocol. So actually, I think that, yeah, we should make it more evident that we do have governance, and the chip process has shown to be successful in the last 3 years. And the other elements of the list, yeah, I think they're definitely fixed. And the ones that we're trying to fix, I think we haven't fixed the price yet. That's definite. We are making progress, definitely. On-chain transaction volume, I haven't been very aware of it in the day-to-day, but is it true that we are doing like 14,000 a day?
Yeah, but it's been like that for years and years and years, basically. Between about 10 and 15,000 is the kind of baseline activity for BCH.
Yeah, so I don't think that's a lot yet, but we are definitely building the foundations for that to eventually happen, right? And with more transactions comes more utility, or the other way around. With more utility comes more transaction volume and more hash rate, higher price. I think we're on the right path and building the correct foundations for that to develop. So yeah, we're in the right track.
Okay, so the reason that I bring up all these different things as well is because I want to make a point about the response that has happened, right? So we did all this stuff, we fixed all these problems, or we're credibly solving the rest, right? And not only did we do that, we even went above and beyond that. So on the next slide, I have some other points about extra stuff that we did, right? So we've done loads of education, right? Between hijacking Bitcoin, everybody talking on Twitter and Telegram, and debunking all of these hoaxes and scams, and, you know, all the Lightning Network disinformation, and all the scam about BTC, and then all the stuff about the EVM is not really scalable. Like, we're doing tons of work to get that into the conversation, right? Loads and loads of work by us on the podcast and the BCH community overall to actually bring a load more education into crypto, right? Then we also were rebuilding bridges. We did this sort of BSV merge spaces, and we talked to those guys. We've been proactive about reaching out to the BTC guys and having more chats with them, obviously, restoring some civility there. You know, we had Amori came on the show, which I, you know, really enjoyed that, and various other people, you know, throughout the crypto ecosystem. So it's not like we're just sticking to ourselves, you know, we're being inclusive and all that. And then we've got all the UTXO innovation that is happening. It's not like BCH has fixed all these problems and then that's it. No, we've all fixed all the problems, and then we're even still setting the bar higher in terms of our effective governance process, in terms of innovating on how we're doing the merchant adoption hotspots, in terms of the UTXO DeFi, right? We're basically pioneering that category ourselves. So we did all these problems, we fixed them all, and then we also did a ton of extra work. And what has the response been, right? So to the credit of a limited amount of people, and I've got examples here like Paco VM or Ryan X Charles, they've seen all that and they've acknowledged it. You know, they came on the show, they said, wait, you guys are actually doing some really good work, like good stuff, you know, hats off, right? But that's rare. That's actually rare. Most of the people who 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 7 years ago, right, were like fudding BCH and coming up with all these reasons that it couldn't work and all these different problems. Silence. What has happened? Nothing. Nada. We're not getting any credit. All we're getting is getting blocked, getting muted, getting ignored. Or maybe they're listening, maybe they're starting to pay attention to BCH, but they won't, publicly admit, okay, I was wrong, guys, and I should have changed my mind. Do you have any thoughts about that, right? Have you also seen that change? Because things are very quiet at the moment in terms of BCH criticism. I don't see people coming up with any credible criticism, really.
Like you say, you talk about a narrative shift that's been going on. I think the narrative shift has been going on primarily in the BTC world. The BTC people in general have been understanding that it can't scale, that it's not working, that it can't be used as money. And that has been the main narrative change that has happened. But on the side of BCH, like you say, not very many people have been accepting the truth, accepting that they were perhaps wrong in the past. And it's very hard, but it's a reality that humans, we are like that. It's really hard for us to take criticism and accept when we are wrong. It's just part of us humans being like super social animals. Nobody wants to be seen as stupid or as the person that was wrong. So until BCH starts to get like real strong adoption, real strong pump in price, it's going to be hard for them to admit it, right? And I think it's very important, the work that you're doing, the outreach that you and some other people like Fiendish are doing, the attitude of not being too critical of other communities, the attitude of containing that tribalness and being more friendly and inviting other people from other communities to the podcast and to the Twitter spaces to discuss technical things. I think it's a great strategy for this to happen, for bringing more people into the community and eventually to get more converts and people accepting the truth.
Yeah, and I just want to bring this up, I'm not trying to, like, it's like, I think about what Ryan said when he came on the show, Ryan Giffen, where he said after he was getting into life extending, research and stuff like that. And he said, okay, well, actually society needs people to die because people don't change their mind, they just die, right? And that's literally true in a lot of cases. But in our case, it's kind of metaphorically true, right? Which is, how did the BCH community pivot from having so many wrong ideas. Okay, it had some correct ideas. Okay, you've got to raise the block size, etc. But it also had a lot of wrong ideas, a lot of cope, a lot of victimizing, a lot of blaming, a lot of, stupid ideas that got filtered out with different splits and so forth, right? So how did that happen? Well, it was basically by people in quote unquote dying, not literally, but metaphorically, in terms of they lost prominence in the community, they moved on to other things or whatever. And then fresh people were able to come in who were not hampered by all that baggage of the past and were able to say, okay, guys, here's a different direction. Here's some different ideas. Let's keep the stuff that is working or that makes sense. And let's, throw out the stuff that isn't, or bring in something different, right? So I don't expect actually that we're going to get a lot of credit, at least not in the short or medium term, maybe in the very, very long term. Like you said, it will get past a point where it's so obvious that it becomes ridiculous not to acknowledge it, rather than ridiculous to try, hold on to your existing beliefs, right? But as things go, I'm expecting that maybe the way we grow is by just drawing in new people and not trying to convert or really, help the transition process of anybody who is at all sort of influential or notable in these other coins, because we've done so much good work, and with only limited exceptions, like I said, and hats off to those cases, but in the vast majority of cases, it's just like silence or pretend this isn't happening. So I think maybe we just, that's fine if people don't want to. I was like 2 years ago, maybe I sort of felt like if we did all the stuff that I now have on these slides, then we'd start winning over some recruits, at a certain point. But for the most part, we still haven't seen that, and it's now January 2025. Do you think if we keep putting up, like you say, good, even better results, that will get converts, or do we just win by just completely replacing the sort of existing crypto influences because they just aren't involved in BCH as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually, who cares, right?
Yeah, I think getting bigger and bigger will take some time, and you're right. I think it's a good strategy to target people that are not involved in crypto at the moment. Like, for example, the people that are libertarians, which is not a very high percentage of the people in the world. Because to be libertarian in general, you have to have some sense of economics and like a certain type of economics. But the libertarian community in general is much larger than the specific people involved in crypto, right? But this type of people that are libertarians, I think, are more fresh terrain to be able to sow the seeds of understanding decentralized money and why it's important. From my part, on Twitter, I've been posting, for example, there's this guy, Ricardo Salinas Pliego, which is one of the richest guys in Mexico. He is the owner of many companies, for example, Total Play, for example, Electra, like Banco Azteca, really, really large companies. And he has lately been very active in Twitter and actively promoting the ideas of freedom. That's how they call market economics, right? And he gets involved in politics, criticizing the politicians, and he created a university of freedom, or of liberty university, where they are offering programs in market economics and entrepreneurship. So he has a very large following. So for example, today he posted, oh, BTC is going to get super high in price, and right now it's 104. Buy your BTC. So he's very sold to that idea, but he is being scammed by the laser eyes. He recently went to El Salvador with Bukele. I think he's friends with, well, not the Tether guys, but well, all the group of very influential BTC people. Max Kaiser, I think he met with Max Kaiser too. So in his X posts, I'm posting the El Secuestro de Bitcoin, like the
Yes.
Spanish version, and trying to make really small but meaningful sentences to get people to understand and like what we really need. And what we really need is peer-to-peer cash, because I think that's a good community where we can have the most impact. Because, for example, if we target regular people, most of them are like they're cheering for socialist parties. For example, here in Mexico, López Obrador and Claudia Sheinbaum got really high approval rates and really high voting rates. So people still think that the government is going to solve your problems, that they have your best interest in their heart. And I think that's a little bit hard to convince. It's a little bit hard to convince these people. Although when speaking to anyone personally, like physically, it's better. I think we have a good chance to convince them. And especially like if you want to retain more of your money, you should try this. You should engage in commerce directly every day with this. Try to convince other people to accept it, but mainly just not to get robbed by the state. Like try to get that idea into people's minds. That's what I think it would be a great strategy to target people.
Yes, I want to give a shout out in the chat here. Voluntarism has been making some comments and said, I was basically a BTC maxi until recently 3 weeks ago. I wanted to learn about block size and what that was all about, so I wanted to know the arguments, and all that took me a week to reconsider. Bitcoin entirely, I just think Bitcoin Cash has bad optics, because before I listened to the Hijacking Bitcoin book, I thought of BCH as an altcoin. My opinion changed over the course of a few weeks, end quote. So thank you, and big appreciation to Voluntarism for looking into that issue and kind of coming to more understand. It's like once it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. But once you do sort of unplug them out of that, then they become an even stronger advocate than before, because they can understand how people are missing the information that they were missing until they understood the truth of what's happening. So we do win over converts, right? That is definitely happening. 100%. My channel subscribers are always going up, right? Who is that? It's not all just fresh people. It's some people who are interested in crypto or more interested in BTC that are either switching sides or are at least open to hearing a different perspective, because we're consistently doing good work both on the podcast and in the ecosystem as a whole, and that's becoming very visible. So I think we are winning over converts, but not people with any kind of social reputation at stake, generally speaking, right? In some isolated cases, yes, but in the most cases, no. I don't know. Jet, do you have any thoughts about this? Do you think that we've substantially silenced the haters? And what do you make of the, change in our ability to attract converts or not?
I don't really know how to answer this, because like every time Roger does anything, there's maxis who are back out to talk shit about BCH, even if Roger's not talking about BCH. We saw that with the Tucker Carlson interview. But at the same time, I definitely have noticed when BCH does come up outside of the normal BCH, like, you know, terminally online community, then you'll get a lot more seemingly normal people now defending it. And I think that's been more noticeable since hijacking Bitcoin. So maybe we need more like heavily marketed educational resources. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we're getting oh man, yeah, this is really hard to think about because I don't think we're converting a whole lot of people. Maybe people that were on the fence and not necessarily BTC maxis to begin with. But like you said, yeah, those people have got to be coming from somewhere, and it's not completely normies. So yeah, probably people that are maybe not leaning one way or the other, at least open up to, or at least people that are at least open to hearing other perspectives and takes on crypto.
Yeah, because part of the reason this was all on my mind, right, was in theory, this is not how it works at all, but in theory, if somebody says, I don't like BCH, and they have a reason, and then you address that reason, you know, use either something changes or, oh, look here, we have a technology, or that was misinformation and here's the truth, etc. You address that reason, then they say, oh, I have another reason. And then you address that. And then they have another reason, you address that. Soon enough, if you're addressing legitimate, often, criticisms, well, at a certain point, they run out of criticisms, right? And then at that point, if you've addressed all their criticisms, logically, they should say, oh, I was wrong. I'm going to convert. I'm now going to be part of BCH. Turns out all the objections I had to it were not real. And now I'm on board with you guys. But that never happens. That never fucking happens. Instead, you get through these different layers of criticism, and then at the end, silence, or they've lost interest, or whatever. And that's just to show that the whole point of you addressing all those criticism, which is a good exercise because it helps you work through why wouldn't people be on board? Maybe we do need solutions to those. And so the exercise itself has value. But it's just interesting that you could do all that work to show somebody that maybe their ideas are wrong, and then at the end, instead of switching sides, especially vocally, they will just double down on what they were doing before and just think, okay, I've got to just ignore this because clearly I tried to get it to go away by like dismissing it with different arguments. But if those arguments don't work, eventually it's enough in their face that they have to actively like avoid it and go away, because that's what I feel like has happened in the BCH discussion spaces. Is we used to just get deluged with all these different people, but now their arguments either don't work or they're just going to look foolish. So they've all had to leave, which is great because it's then created like clarity in the BCH where you can have some more discussion or with people who are really interested without getting swamped by all those people. But like you said, if it's some other sort of tangential thing like their evil bad man Roger Ver demon in their mind, then they will all just still pile onto that, right? So those people are still out there, but we've created a bit of safe, a bit of a bubble of sanity, basically. And my question is, how can we expand that? And should we expect to win over vocal converts or not?
Well, I was going to say that convincing one by one to people about the value of using peer-to-peer cash and explaining them how this works, what are the benefits, what problems it solves. And for example, people that are not very into crypto, it is very valuable and it will definitely help to take us to our final objective. But it's definitely very hard work and it takes a lot of time But it is definitely worth to pursue it. And at the same time, we should continue trying to create apps that could go viral. Like, and I kept waiting this year for the launch of emergent coding. But I think that is what at the end is going to take us over the line to really make like BCH go to the top three. Yeah, we should pursue these entrepreneurial endeavors. Try to make something that it cannot be used physically, but just but like this is electronic cash, right? So some app that the regular financial system can provide, and we can provide it because it's decentralized, right? And it's efficient. There's low fees, and something that takes advantage of all the benefits that the original Bitcoin has.
I'm not entirely convinced that we need this like viral moment. Like, I think even if we just had things like, cruise ship networks start accepting it, where then the tourists on those cruise ships don't have to convert their currency, or artists that are traveling, whether that's like a full band or just a small solo, like anyone that's on tour, especially internationally, I don't think has any reason not to be accepting cryptocurrency. And then you expose massive amounts of normies outside of an investment environment to using this thing as money. And even if they don't do it, then the next time you're on tour, keep accepting it. And I think that will have more of an impact than something like ChatGPT that people will use for a month, but unless you're, really into tech, you're not going to give a damn about.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the idea. That's where I feel like things like Bliss are really strong, and that's why I like that idea of doing some purely peer and cash stamps and stuff like that, because we're creating the prototypes for these sort of on-location concentrations where you bring in people who are already familiar with it, who already know it and are already going to be a part of it and can already have a BCH economy going. So you already have that effect, and then people at the fringes of it see it happening, and it's much more approachable to them because there's all these other people already involved in it. They can ask questions and get answers, live on the spot, and it seems fun and cool and exciting and interesting, so they're more willing to give it a go. And there's immediate utility because they can get some somehow by buying some off someone or finding a cash stamp or whatever, and then immediately go and use it, like complete the loop with, let me go buy this merchandise or talk to this other person who is interested in this, and then we've done a deal. Like, people find all sorts of ways to make small transactions among themselves, and you see that happening when you get a concentration of those people. But crypto is just so spread out, and it's been even more diluted by how many different hundreds of different coins and different wallets and different tech, and it's so much of a mess that it hasn't just hit that critical network effect. But we can create that in a small space, and then that's, I think, basically what you're suggesting. But you need somebody who's a big BCH fan and already has something entirely different going, whether it's their band or their whatever, to then make that like a thing. But somebody will do that. Someone can be the BCH influencer who just breaks through in their musical career or whatever by being the one crypto guy who does crypto payments at all his shows, basically.
Just like one enthusiastic tour manager is going to onboard 10,000 people. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see it. Who's Swiss Beats? Who's your tour manager?
Swiss Beats. Yeah. Where's he at? We haven't heard any more from him since that, clip, whatever it was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Well, I like the coin or whatever it was that he was saying. Haven't heard any more from any of the old Swiss Beats, but maybe he's still got a stack. Wouldn't it be wild if one day he started commenting or something? We got him on the show and he was like, yeah, I've been following all this. Then there was Smart BCH and then this and this. That would be so cool. I doubt that, but Yes, voluntarism says, last year I saw comments promoting BCH and none of them gave me compelling reasons because I thought there was nothing wrong with the Lightning Network. And to me, we don't need 2 Bitcoins. So that's an interesting idea, that maybe as Lightning Network and all that, information just becomes more prominent, as people slowly get over the idea that that was ever going to work, then they kind of understand the rationale better. I think that's kind of there's a confluence of factors, and that's definitely one where time is on our side, for sure. All right, I've got a comment here on the slides. Matthew Hirkins, BCH All-Star, was commenting on Twitter, so demotivating to see Litecoin outperforming Bitcoin Cash. Same for DOT and SHIB. We must grow the BCH DeFi TVL to make a big comeback to the top 10 on CoinMarketCap. And Emergent Reasons responded, I know what you mean, but somehow it doesn't bother me. BCH is playing a different game where price is an effect/outcome rather than a cause, as evidenced by your we must. When BCH climbs, it will be unstoppable. And then I also jumped in and said this, outsiders will say it's cope, but I genuinely don't feel a direct competition with any other coin at this point. We're on our own path, not really analogous enough to any other to make a comparison really meaningful, and it's so obvious how much good work BCH is doing. And I just wanted to underscore that, because this is genuinely, like, I do keep an eye on the price still, but I'm not really too worried if another coin is pumping past us or down, because I don't see other communities having this kind of conversation that we're having. Like, how can we break through with real adoption and real tools and wallets and everything like that? I don't see that kind of conversation anywhere. And I don't think anything else is like BCH in terms of what we said before about having the privacy niche, having the peer-to-peer merchants, having the DeFi stuff, having a solid governance and resilience to capture. Like, that's not in any other coin. So nothing that anybody else is putting out there anymore is really relevant anymore. That's honestly how I feel. Like, 2 years ago, even a year ago, I spent a lot of time watching what Bitcoin did, watching the Bankless podcast, checking up on other different Twitter spaces from different coins to see, what they were cooking up. But I feel like now BCH has caught up to a lot of those conversations and in fact surpassed it. And so now there's just not really anything of value there for me anymore. And it just makes me very unconcerned by what's happening in the rest of crypto, as long as we're putting up good solutions. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what you say is also my feeling. Like in the technology, BCH is very far ahead from almost any competitors. But we're still in that phase of doing all the piping, the plumbing, everything that is under the hood is really well thought of and really well constructed. So we just have to continue pushing and start building the app layer. But yeah, in terms of the capabilities of the blockchain itself, I really don't care if Litecoin pumps or Pepe flipping sauce or anything like that. Especially, the crypto market is just like that. We all know most of it, like 99% of it, is speculation. The exchanges, that's what they want. They want people to trade, because of the trading fees is where they get their money. So they're not going to talk about the regular use. It's not in their interest. So yeah, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, and a part of this also is that I have been, like I said, I've been struggling to really find any inspiration or any just value in general in drawing off what's happening in the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. So I started thinking to myself, all right, what's next? If we've hit the limits kind of this bubble. I don't mean somebody's going to misinterpret this and just say, oh, Jeremy's an arrogant asshole. He thinks nobody in any of the other cryptos is doing anything of value. No, that's not true at all. Okay, maybe they've come up with a good, DeFi protocol. Maybe they have some cool dev tools that we can copy. Maybe their coin is a higher market cap because they've got more people involved in their store of value hype or whatever. That's fine. But in terms of us actually innovating and pursuing our own mission that we're doing with the peer-to-peer cash to 8 billion people, like other coins just aren't on that path, Like ETH is busy. Yeah. Like if Ethereum, if Vitalik was thinking anything like the BCH community, he wouldn't be writing up that whole post that we showed before where he's like just lost in this soup of complaints from people about technology that isn't working. And like it's not just like, guys, we're being peer-to-peer cash and here's where we're missing things. So I thought, well, we're gonna need some inspiration. Where do we find that? And it's got to be outside of cryptocurrency. And I've been reading this book, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. So that's just one example. Basically, the point of the book is he's saying, look, things are not, you can either think about things as having an endpoint or you can think about them as a process, right? Finite or infinite. Okay, so with BCH, for instance, we could be focused on getting to rank number 1 on the coin market caps, or we can be focused on the process of helping adopt new people. Are we doing the right things in terms of getting people one by one on board? Are we having productive conversations within the BCH community? Are we doing good development on what we're doing? Just kind of, it's a little bit, it's a little bit vague maybe, but just the general concept of focus on your process, not your results, right? Because process is what lasts you through when the results aren't good. And the results are, like if you're running a company, maybe your company has a bad quarter, but it's not, it's just noise in the long run. It's actually just, was your company doing the things it was supposed to be on a compelling mission, right? So that's just something I've been thinking about. But I think in general, the BCH community should start to be more proactive about looking for other stuff in the world of business, culture, art, technology, wherever it is, things that are not cryptocurrency adjacent in the strict sense, and then sharing that more with the community, because that's how I think we'll start coming up with fresh ideas and approaches that other coins don't have, because we're not going to find them in other coins because they don't have any of these ideas. I don't know. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you on the point that the book you present makes. Recently, I read this book, which I think is really popular at the moment, called Atomic Habits from James Clear.
Yes, similar. Yeah, it's a good
He
one.
exactly says that you should not think about your goals just like an end point. Like, for example, I want to have the body of a bodybuilder. I want to get strong like a bodybuilder. But instead, you should think more about the process of getting there, which is the habit of working out every day. And first, you should start small, doing it every day, even though it's only for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Start being consistent, and once you get consistent, once you have the habit, the end goal is going to get it there by itself, So it's kind of the idea that you're trying to communicate there. In terms of getting inspiration from other places, I really didn't get that very well when you said it. And also, I think Fiendish was agreeing with you in that respect. But I don't think I haven't heard of many ideas of how we could do that, and I haven't been very creative in trying to think about ways. You mentioned culture, art, and my mind already is thinking about NFTs and tokenizing high price pieces of art. So that would be crypto adjacent, right? Crypto.
Yeah, well, that's just
related.
that's the right kind of idea. That's what I'm saying, is just having more conversations either within the community or, you know, outside the community. Like, instead of arguing with someone, you know, about the tech specifics of Monero versus BCH privacy, for instance, irrelevant. Find some other completely well, not irrelevant, but find some other niche and talk to somebody who's like really keen on, you know, avocado farming in Guatemala or something, right? And then maybe they say, oh, you know, we've got this problem that BCH could solve. Or maybe they just say something which seems completely unrelated. Like they say, oh, well, when you're farming avocados, you need to do it in this certain way. And that triggers us to then think, oh, we could do a methodology like that. Or, you know, people get ideas by combining things from unrelated fields, right? And so I think we've, at least in my personal belief, I've sort of hit a lot of the stuff in crypto. I've seen it, I've absorbed it, taken some inspiration, but I'm not getting like breakthroughs of like, wow, this is something new that could be really worth trying anymore. I think the discussion just seems a bit stale, and it's just more of the same. Oh, Trump launches a meme coin, whinging about the government and about regulations, you know, whatever it is, right? And I'm just like, okay, that's not where we're going to find breakthroughs.
I mean, like lateral thinking, no? Like try to use your lateral thinking to get more strategy, to try to think about better strategies to solve this problem from a different standpoint, from different perspectives.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough time really to reflect on that, and try to get inspiration. Maybe I'm too concentrated in my day-to-day work and crypto, like too much Twitter or something. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. It doesn't have to be right here, you know, live on the show that we come up with all the answers. That's exactly what I'm saying, you know, is just you and I and a lot of other people who are heavily engaged in BCH are probably just, you know, recycling those same conversational avenues where we go for kind of ideas and input, and at a certain point, you know, maybe you've got most of the benefit, and we need to just think really differently about finding or introducing some other elements from other places. Like, it doesn't have to be anywhere specific, just somewhere radically different, because I think that will bring in some new adopters, but also some new ideas, especially that we can get the jump on the rest of the industry into, because just like we're doing this, every other community is, you know, chewing over the same meal themselves, right, in whatever their variation of things are.
Yeah, maybe try to create new friendships, try to engage with people that have businesses, and be gentle, but try to be friendly and to develop relationships, so then you can start to maybe introduce the idea to the person, to maybe they could be interested in accepting crypto as payments for their products. That could also be one avenue that we could pursue, because we're not really, there's not really large businesses right now accepting crypto directly, right? Maybe, like, most of them are through gift cards and stuff like that. And yeah, before the hijacking, big companies used to accept it. Yeah, it would be amazing to get something of that size. Like, for example, Microsoft used to accept it, right? Steam is this gaming platform, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe try to get to know these people and sell them on the idea.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I just think this is the kind of process. I don't know what exactly it's going to lead to, but just in general, I think that would really help. Okay, we've got a meme of the week here, which is, I actually really love this meme. But somebody said, JPN said on Telegram, sorry, sometimes it's really hard to hide frustration after they were, I don't know, posting about something or other. And Neanderthal posted back with, keep going, we're nearly there. And this meme, which I've seen before, which is amazing. It's two guys and they have pickaxes and they're like burrowing through some rock in the side of a mountain or something. And there's a giant pile of diamonds at the end that they're going to hit if they keep going. And one guy at the top is like frantically working away and he's about halfway through. And then the other guy is 95% of the way through, 99% of the way through, and he's just given up. But he obviously can't see that if he just kept going a little bit longer, he would be the one to hit on all the diamonds. And I think it just captures it all so well, which is a lot of these things just take persistence, and you often don't even realize how far ahead you are of your competitors or other people, or how close you are to a big payoff until it kind of arrives, right? So the main thing is to not be dispirited in the meantime. And I'm just feeling that a lot, you know. It just kind of comes back to where we started with talking about Bliss, you know. Bliss 1 year ago, or not, it wasn't 1 year, but in May last year was absolutely amazing. And right now I'm trying to promote it for people to come to a second Bliss, because if it can be even bigger and we can have as much action and activity, and like some of the fresh faces that I met there were then people who came on the podcast and who collaborated about other projects and so forth. The ripple effect of that event was massive, I feel like, and we're trying to do it even bigger and even better this year. So yeah, I really think I highly encourage anybody who is at all involved in BCH. I know it's a big ask, but seriously look into coming along, and even bring someone with you. Callisti was posting about he's going to bring his girl along for the second time, his girlfriend. She came along last time, she loved it, and then she, you know, will be coming along again this year. And just lots of people bringing somebody with them, whether it's your family, your wife, your girlfriend, your friend, whoever it is, because all those people also both A, had a really good time last time, and secondly, B, it adds to what I'm talking about of just getting some fresh ideas and some fresh perspectives. You know, sometimes it's the people who are not deeply involved who can see something from a clear angle that nobody has really looked at before. I don't know. What do you think? Make of this meme of the week?
I think, like you say, it captures the idea extremely well that we should be stubborn. We should keep working with enthusiasm as strong as we can. We know the importance of the goal that we have in our hands, and we know that it can be achieved. So we should continue just digging and digging, and we will eventually get there. That's also the idea of that book, the idea of Atomic Habits. You just have to concentrate on the current day, obviously with a future outlook, but do everything like if it's going to happen, and yeah, just not get discouraged. It's like you say, there's many other blockchains. Most of them are not pursuing this objective. they're just doing some other stuff. So we are of the few blockchains that are trying to achieve that goal, which is super enormous. So yeah, we should continue going. It's a great need.
Yes. Okay, we've got message to the community. I'm sure you know the drill. Your chance to speak to the Bitcoin Cash community. What do they need to hear?
Yeah, we should continue doing what we're doing. I think we're doing it correctly. We are trying to convincing more and more people each time. Let's think about new ideas, new business ideas that we can take forward. Let's invest in them, and let's communicate between each other more effectively. Keep telling your cousins, your friends that are still not into crypto or still not into auto custody to just send them some BCH and tell them where they can spend it. For example, I have to confess that I haven't been doing much of this adoption through the cash stamps, but I'm planning on giving these stamps after Peter Thurman came out with the 2 QR code stamp. I think it's a lot better, and well, it came with the idea of giving Bitcoins like this, which is chocolate Bitcoin, or plastic ones like this, with the stamps, and as a tip when you go to restaurants. And in the same stamp, put where the person can spend it. Because when we, for example, here in Mexico, you can buy gift cards for these commerces, which are very popular. It's supermarket, then a big a departmental store. It's Cinepolis is the movies, very popular place, and Starbucks. But we have to tell them where they can spend it, because if you're just giving them BCH and they think it's for getting rich or just to store it or store value, we're not going to get anywhere. So let's start getting the BCH flowing and moving back and forth, and keep going. We're going to get there.
Yes, we're going to get there. Okay, shout out to our FundMe contributors: Majamali Marcelo, quote, founding father; Molecular, the show we love; Erdogan Talk, economics writer; Milton Friedman; and Cash Stamps, Keep Calm, and Bitcoin Cash. Our donators, thank you very much for sending in some sats. Our patrons, Ricky and HP, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Okay, start guide, FAQ, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new, listen to episode 85 to get the backstory of all what's going on here, and try out Selene Wallet at selene.cash. Final shout outs for the show. Bernardo, where can people find more of you, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'm on X. I'm not, I think well, you put my handle there, but I think it's just like X / Bernanacatl. And that's basically where you can find me. Well, on Telegram and the groups, the BCH podcast group, I sometimes enter the Electron Cash Wallet Telegram, but basically the BCH podcast group, that's where I hang out with you guys the most.
Yes, very enjoyably too. Jet, any shout outs?
Yes, this one I'm going to do a little intentionally vague because I didn't ask the other person if I could do this. But my shout out goes out to Robert. If you're listening to this, hopefully everything works out and be a good time.
Okay. Love that. Good luck with that, Robert. Wherever you are or whatever you're doing, sounds popping. My shout outs, I've got two. And they're kind of interrelated, I guess. The first shout out is to Bliss. So I know we talked about it a bunch on this show, but I really, truly, it is an absolutely amazing experience. And if you've listened to this entire episode, you definitely care enough about BCH to consider coming along. You can have a holiday in Europe, or if you're from Europe, it's convenient. So either way, there's an upside. And 3 days of meeting everyone in BCH, it was like some of the best fun I had last year, and I think it's very, very good odds it's going to be the same this year. The tickets are on TapSwap, tapswap.cash. All the info is at bliss.cash. Look it up and seriously consider coming along. And my second shout out on this theme is to Fiendish Crypto, who has been crushing it with his spaces. If you run out of the BCH podcast episodes to listen to and you need some more BCH content, he has been putting out absolutely great interviews. He did one with Jonathan Silverblood and I a couple of days ago where we talked more about Bliss in detail as well too, so you can go listen to that. And he has also been doing a fantastic job in promoting BCH in general and Bliss specifically. I know he has an outstanding bet just for lols that he's trying to win in terms of the amount of tickets that we get sold, but also he genuinely had a ton of fun at last year's Bliss, so I think he's also bought into the concept for that reason as well. And he's just, I mean, he's been a fantastic contributor to the community for several years at this point, but in the last 6 months, or especially 3 or 4 months when he's been doing his Fiendish and Friend spaces, he has absolutely taken it up a gear, and it's very, very impressive the quality of the content he puts out and how much preparation and work goes into that. And it's also just so beneficial to have him really helping to build excitement and interest in Bliss as well too. So that's going to be an absolute banger. Bliss.cash. Go get your Velma NFTs on TapSwap and be part of history. Okay.
And I do
That'll do it.
A final shout out. Shout out to Ian Blas and Leo Beltran that really continue to pump out really high quality BCH content. I haven't been able to listen to their last 4 episodes, but the topics are really interesting. For example, maximum extractable value in the BCH blockchain, why BTC is going to get more inflation in the future. They really make really high quality content. And also Marcelo, Mariana, and Luis, I watch and listen to their podcast, which is No Hay Almuerzo Gratis. Lately they have brought a lot of really interesting and really important individuals like Walter Block and this Argentinian libertarian called, I'm not sure of his name, but Martin. And also they brought Miguel Ancho Bastos, which is like a super prominent libertarian guy in the Spanish world. So, and they got him to read Hijacking Bitcoin. So a shout out to them. They're doing a great job.
Yes, absolutely amazing. And it just goes to show as well how much of a multifaceted battle it is. I mean, that's another thing, like another area that we can really look to try and get more inspiration is BCH is quite strong in English, I feel like, and in Spanish and maybe in Chinese as well too, but there's got to be so many other languages and little communities that maybe are not super exposed to BCH, or it's hard for them to find the information or what have you, and it just takes a couple of people who have that crossover ability to to start a new podcast in that language, or start helping to translate some of the existing material to that language, or passing out hijacking Bitcoin, or whatever it is, to just make such a difference in the education level of the whole world eventually, because once everybody understands all this information, BCH will be globally adopted. There's no doubt about that. The biggest barrier is certainly ignorance. So I think we're doing a great job of chipping away at that. And yeah, big shout out to those guys in Argentina doing absolutely amazing work to a segment that this show is probably not going to be reaching either, you know. So it's really a case of many hands make light work, and we win as a team. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Today, where freedom lights the way, that's secure.